I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful pendants using Par Puca Helios beads. Check out the materials list in the description below, as well as links, hints and tips. These beautiful Helios beads have two holes from top to the bottom, and they got a shape like a bird, and I love referring to them when we're picking up our pattern to pick it up from underneath the wing, which means from the bottom you're going towards the top, or I will say pick up from the top, where you're going from the top towards underneath the wing. Step 1, take about 3 feet length of thread, add a needle to it, and we're going to tie this to our ring. So I'm just going to do a normal square knot to secure the thread right onto the ring. Step 2, you're going to have to start to add some beads. So pick up from Helios from top to bottom, then pick up a 4mm crystal and another Helios from bottom, from underneath the wing going outwards, and then take your needle. I like to hold on to the ring from this point. Take your needle underneath the ring and hold on to the thread as you're pulling your needle through with your index finger and thumb. So the beads are just sort of come up and they will sit just butted against the ring itself. Then I'm going to come back down, so the thread is coming from underneath that ring, and I'm going to come around and go through the same hole I'm just coming out of, and with this way we're going to form a little loop right on the top, securing the Helios bead to the ring itself. Step 3, pick up 4 seed beads and take your needle through the other hole on the Helios bead, and at the same time go underneath your large ring as well. Again, I'm going to hold on to the beads and the needle with my other hand and pull as I'm pulling this through. Then I'm going to come back through. I'm going to slide these seed beads out of my way. I'm going to come back through on the top again, going through the same hole I was just coming out from, forming another loop on the top of the Helios bead, securing this side of the Helios bead to the large ring too. Step 4, pick up a crystal and the Helios bead as well from underneath the wing, traveling upwards. Now I'm going to slightly turn this side, and I'm going to take my needle once again through underneath that ring, holding on to the beads until they come right up to the top and they butt against the ring itself. Then I'm going to take my needle back down the same hole on the Helios bead, pulling it up, giving that little loop on the top to secure this Helios. Now repeat this step and the previous step, adding the seed beads and then adding more Helios beads until you get all the way around. In overall, you're going to need to have 10 Helios bead inside of your ring. So let's just stop here for a little bit of troubleshooting. I still need to add one more Helios beads, but it looks like I haven't got a quite big enough gap here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull just slightly these other loops back and creating the space so I can add the Helios bead in. Now my loops do look like a little bit sort of one facing one way, the other one facing the other way. It doesn't matter, everything is going to pull together when we get right down to the middle. So add that last Helios bead, and I'm going to show you how to join the first and the last. So to join your very last Helios with the very first one, just pick up a crystal bead and go up through the free hole on the very first Helios we added, behind the ring of course, and then I'm going to pull this through and come back down the Helios bead itself, and we still have to add those 4 seed beads. So I have got the same 4 seed bead loop underneath every single Helios. So just take your needle up through this hole on the Helios bead as well. This has already got a loop above it, but we're just gonna do the same thing. We're gonna create another loop here. So taking your needle behind your ring, pulling this up nice and tight, and come back down in front of it, and then go into the first 2 seed beads of the loop you just created. Before I go any further, I'm going to turn my pendant around. I'm just going to pop my needle through the middle and turn the pendant around. So I will be working on this side of the pendant, and I can hold the beads down with my thumb as I'm working around it. So as you are coming out of this first 2 bead, So pick up one Helios beads from top to bottom, pick up a 4mm crystal and another Helios going from underneath the wing outwards, and this time we haven't got a ring to stitch onto, but we have the thread path underneath these loops what we have created. So I want 2 seed beads on one side, 2 seed beads on the other side, and I just want to go under, catching this thread right into the middle. And when I pull this up, the Helios beads and the crystal are just gonna sit underneath, and then I have to come back down this Helios bead the same hole I was coming out of. And one thing you need to make sure when you're pulling this tight, that your thread can jump and can jump over a seed bead here, but as you're pulling it tight, just make sure, just eyeball it, that you end up with 2 seed beads on one side and 2 seed beads on the other side, and the little loop trapping these Helios beads onto your beadwork is right in the middle there. Step 7, pick up 3 seed beads. So on the previous row we needed 4 seed beads so we can hook right in the middle of it, but here we only need 3, and you will see right in the middle when we're pulling it together why. So pick up 3 seed beads, go through the other hole on your Helios, and then go through the middle, go to that loop in the middle between those 2 seed beads, pulling this up nice and tight. I'm just going to move these seed beads out of the way, and then I'm going to come back through the same Helios, the same hole, pulling this up, making sure this is not jumping anywhere, and just trapping those seed beads to the bottom. With step 8, picking up 1 crystal and 1 Helios from underneath the wing going upwards, I'm going to move along on my pendant here and go under the next loop right in the middle, trapping these beads onto my beadwork. I'm going to come back down that hole, making sure again my loop ends up in the right place. If I need to, I just move it over, and so on. You're going to go all the way around, alternating adding the crystal and the Helios or the seed beads. So step 9, join your last Helios with the first one in the same manner we did it in a first round, but again just make sure that you go in between those 2 seed beads, adding the crystal first and then adding the seed beads and re-looping it on the other side of this Helios. Once you added your last beads as well, once again I'm going to turn my pendant around and I'm going to stitch into the loop I just created. I'm going to go through the first 2 seed beads, so I'm coming out the middle one, then I'm going to pick up an extra seed bead and go through the middle one on the next loop, and so on until I get all the way around. And this is the point when your pendant really gonna pull together, the thread path is really gonna be stretched, and everything just gonna look fantastic. So go around adding all those seed beads, as well as once you added all those seed beads, you can go around an extra time just to really pull it stronger, pull it tighter each time you go, and your pendant's gonna be looking great. So just adding the last seed bead in here. So I'm gonna go into the seed bead I added first, and then I'm gonna carry on around and around, maybe 1 or 2 times, and every single time I go I'm just gonna pull this. Can you see how that's pulling together, pulling it tighter and tighter? Once you tighten it up, I like to add an extra crystal in the middle just to fill that gap. So the seed bead I'm coming out of, I'm gonna pick up the crystal and take my thread all the way to the other side and go through the opposite seed bead on my little circle there, then going straight back into the crystal just to double sew it onto there, make it really secure, and then go through the seed bead you were coming out before you started to add the crystal. And with that, the main body of the pendant is ready. We need to add the little jump ring to the top, and we need to sew the ends off. So to sew the ends off, you're just going to take your thread all the way, well, following any thread path really you created. It doesn't really matter where you go. I like to go up and around the ring. Then I'm just going to come back and stop underneath this Helios bead and do a 1 thread knot. So once again, I'm just going to catch the thread underneath those beads. I haven't gone through any of the beads, just catching the thread underneath it. And as I'm pulling this through, you can see this little loop forming. Before this loop disappears, I'm going to take my needle through it. And as I'm pulling this tight, can you see that little knot is forming on the top of my thread? Then I'm going to take my needle through the next crystal and maybe a couple of seed beads as well. Never cut your thread right next to your knot, because then your knot can come undone and the thread can break. So once I'm happy, I'm gonna take my scissors, I'm gonna pull on my thread upwards away from the table. I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm gonna push down towards, I'm gonna push the pendant down towards the table so I can get a really close finish, chopping that end off, then putting my needle on the end, repeating on the other side, and all is left to do to attach the jump ring. To attach the jump ring, you're going to hold it with 2 pairs of pliers. Now, the jump ring has got a little cut on them, which is right on the top there, and I'm going to twist it apart. So I'm going to twist one towards me, the other plier away. Then I'm going to hook onto my pendant and I'm going to twist it back shut. You make sure your jump ring is completely shut. So if you just wiggle it in the middle, you should be feeling the ends rubbing together. And with that, your pendant is done. So let's look at the materials list and what actually you can change. You can change your design slightly. So the materials I have used in this project are Par Puca Helios Beads. Par Puca is a French designer and the beads are manufactured in the Czech Republic. 4mm crystals. Now you can use 4mm pearls or any 4mm glass beads. I'll make sure they are even because you want that even look in between your Helios beads. Size 11 Toho seed beads are used. You can use similar qualities, sort of a higher end quality seed beads. They need to be quite even, so you get that when it's between 2 seed beads you go through, they look even on both sides. A 40mm ring. Now you could use a larger one or a smaller one, but just bear one thing in mind: you have to have an even number of Helios beads to start with on the outer edge, because the inner one is going to be exactly half the amount what you're adding on the outer circle. Also, I did use the jump ring here, but you could use anything. You know, you could make your own bell, or you have got other options as well how you could connect this up to a chain, or perhaps if you wanted to make a beaded chain. So once you have mastered the technique, you can do all sorts of different variations. You can use lighter seed beads and crystals against a darker color Helios to make them really stand out, or blend them together so the whole color coming through one as a pendant. I hope you enjoyed this make as much as I loved creating it. Let me know in the comments below if you got any questions. Keep on beading, keep on crafting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! If you don't want to miss out on my next video, then be sure to turn the bell on after you have subscribed to my channel. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.